The room was so silent that even the steady beep of the heart monitor sounded deafening. Dozens of wealthy executives and family members stood frozen as the dying billionaire CEO slowly raised a trembling hand toward the one man no one expected to see there. His voice was weak, but every word struck like thunder across the luxurious penthouse bedroom. He declared that the single father standing before him had only two choices: marry his daughter or lose everything that had just been placed in his hands. Every face turned toward the rugged mechanic, waiting for greed to win. But what happened next would become the story people remembered long after the billionaire's fortune was forgotten. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, honesty, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone you care about, and subscribe to Dot. Your support helps bring more emotional stories that inspire hope every day. Daniel Carter had never imagined that his ordinary life would lead him into the home of one of the richest men in the country. He was 38 years old, a widowed father raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily alone. Every sunrise began before dawn. He packed Lily's lunch, braided her hair the best he could after watching online tutorials, dropped her at school, and spent long days repairing engines at a small neighborhood garage. Money was always tight, but love was never in short supply. Daniel taught Lily that a person's value was measured not by the size of their bank account but by the size of their heart. They lived in a tiny rented house filled with laughter, homemade dinners, and dreams that refused to disappear. Across the city, billionaire CEO Richard Ashford was fighting the final battle of his life. After decades of building a global empire, his body was failing. His family surrounded him every day, yet he had never felt more alone. His children fought over inheritance before he had even taken his last breath. Board members smiled in front of him but secretly prepared for his replacement. Richard had spent a lifetime earning billions, only to realize that genuine loyalty could never be bought. Their worlds collided on an ordinary rainy afternoon when Richard's luxury limousine broke down outside Daniel's garage. The billionaire's security team demanded immediate service, treating everyone around them with arrogance. Daniel ignored the expensive suits and focused only on the broken engine. He refused extra payment for rushing the repair because another customer had arrived first and deserved the same respect. Richard watched quietly from the back seat, surprised that someone could remain honest when faced with enormous wealth. For the first time in years, he met a man who treated him like another human being instead of a walking fortune. That brief meeting stayed with Richard. Curious, he asked trusted investigators to learn more about Daniel. What they discovered amazed him. Daniel volunteered at homeless shelters on weekends, quietly paid school fees for children whose parents could not afford them, and had even returned a bag containing thousands of dollars that someone accidentally left at the garage. Not once had he accepted rewards for his honesty. Every act of kindness remained invisible because Daniel never believed good deeds needed an audience. Richard's health deteriorated rapidly. Doctors warned his remaining time could be counted in weeks. One evening he summoned Daniel to his mansion, saying he wished to discuss an important matter. Daniel hesitated, thinking perhaps another vehicle needed repairs, but he accepted out of respect. When he entered the luxurious estate, he immediately sensed tension. Family members whispered among themselves. Lawyers waited with folders. Executives stood silently near the walls. Then Richard revealed the truth. His only daughter, Amelia, was intelligent, compassionate, and deeply lonely. Unlike the rest of the family, she had never cared about luxury. She had devoted her life to charity work, often clashing with relatives who saw generosity as weakness. Richard feared that after his death she would become trapped in endless legal battles and manipulation. He believed Daniel possessed something money could never purchase, the courage to protect another person simply because it was right. The billionaire shocked everyone by announcing that Daniel would inherit control of the company under one condition. He had to marry Amelia. Otherwise, everything would pass to relatives Richard no longer trusted. Gasps filled the room. Some family members smiled, convinced no ordinary mechanic could refuse such unimaginable wealth. Others looked at Daniel with open contempt, already assuming he would seize the opportunity. Daniel stood motionless. He thought about Lily waiting for him at home. He remembered promising his late wife that love should never become a business deal. He looked at Amelia, whose tear-filled eyes revealed that she had never asked for this impossible situation. Then Daniel quietly spoke from the deepest place in his heart. He said that marriage built on obligation would destroy 3 lives instead of saving one. He could never teach his daughter that love had a price tag, no matter how large the fortune. If protecting Amelia required friendship, loyalty, or sacrifice, he would gladly offer those freely. But he could not exchange vows simply to inherit billions. Silence swallowed the room. Richard closed his eyes. Slowly, a smile appeared on the dying man's face. For the first time in months, genuine peace replaced the fear he had carried every day. He admitted that the proposal had never truly been about marriage. It had been the final test of character. Every wealthy businessman Richard had approached immediately accepted without hesitation. Daniel was the only man who valued integrity above unimaginable riches. That answer convinced Richard he had found the right guardian for both his daughter and the company. The following morning, Richard rewrote his final legal documents. Daniel would become chairman of a charitable foundation that owned the controlling shares of the corporation. Amelia would remain CEO. Neither could sell the company for personal gain. Instead, profits would support hospitals, schools, orphanages, and scholarships. Their partnership would be based on trust rather than marriage. Richard passed away peacefully 3 days later. Predictably, lawsuits followed. Disappointed relatives accused Daniel of manipulation. Headlines questioned how a simple mechanic had earned the trust of a billionaire. Television commentators speculated endlessly about secret deals that never existed. Daniel refused every interview. Instead, he returned to fixing cars during the investigation while Amelia defended the foundation in court. Months later, every accusation collapsed because every document had been signed legally and every decision reflected Richard's final wishes. As years passed, something extraordinary happened. Daniel and Amelia worked side by side helping thousands of families. They built free medical clinics in forgotten towns, funded education for struggling children, and created programs that gave single parents flexible jobs with fair wages. Employees noticed that company profits actually increased because workers felt respected instead of exploited. Kindness became part of the business model rather than a marketing slogan. Lily grew up watching adults choose integrity over greed. She learned that true wealth was measured by lives changed, not dollars collected. Amelia became the loving mentor Lily never expected, while Daniel remained the humble father who still repaired bicycles in the neighborhood whenever children needed help. Years later, after friendship had slowly grown into genuine love without pressure or conditions, Daniel and Amelia finally chose to marry. There were no billion-dollar contracts attached. No inheritance clauses. No impossible ultimatums. Only two people who had earned each other's trust through years of compassion and sacrifice. On their wedding day, the chair reserved for Richard remained empty except for a single white rose resting upon it. Everyone understood its meaning. The dying CEO had searched for someone worthy of protecting what mattered most, and in the end, he had discovered that character always outlives wealth. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who still believes in kindness, leave a comment below, and subscribe to Dot. Your support encourages us to keep sharing stories that remind the world that compassion still exists. Special request, please comment with one word, kindness, if you believe honesty and compassion are worth more than money. Because in the end, fortunes fade, powerful names are eventually forgotten, and even the tallest empires become history. But one selfless decision made with a sincere heart can echo through generations, changing lives in ways no fortune ever could. That is the legacy Richard left behind, the lesson Daniel lived every day, and the reason their story continues to inspire anyone who still believes that love, integrity, and kindness are the greatest treasures a person can ever possess.